Hey, Steve and Amy. For our call this afternoon, I just want to share with you my thinking about the customer's question. And I'm going to go ahead and send along all of these links in a document. So I'm assuming that if we start with this, and by the way, there's a reference implementation on GitHub for this. So we assume that we've got DNS and Active Directory. They're going to go from the internet, do a DNS lookup, go to an Azure front door. Um, Maybe using the Azure CDN, depending on how we want to distribute this, um, to blob storage in the static content, so probably a web page or something, or we may use an app service plan with a function fronted by a message queue that in this case will have guaranteed deliverability with a function app to a Redis cache, and then we'll save this all to a database. And so this is enabling both Azure Search as well as the database commit, so we can really combine the architectures for both. Um, there's a reference architecture of this. This is for MSPNP. It's on GitHub under reference architectures for web apps. There's also a competing consumer patterns, which talks about essentially how you use application instances with the message queue to a consumer service, right? So some things to think about. There's also, it's called creating durable functions using Azure Portal. So we would leave the function running. We'd put a fair amount of memory behind it and just leave it running so we didn't have to rehydrate it each time. I've created a little function up here called Steve Bob Amy. We actually have a URL here called Steve Bob Amy on Azure websites, which doesn't really do anything, but it does exist. I've also done a little thing, Azure Search versus Elasticsearch, which if we want to get kind of descriptions of the differences on StackShare. I've created a Redis cache, right? So that's just because that's one of the things that we might be talking about. Then I showed you the solution. Asynchronous messaging versus rigorous messaging. The thing about messages to remember is we have some things called either guaranteed delivery or not guaranteed delivery, right? So we can also say request response. So we can accept push messages, or we can do a push me to pull you, right? To say, hey, we got your message. And then how you choose between Event Grid, Event Hub, and a service bus. There's the scalable architecture I showed, right, which is web app, front door, function app, queue, cache, CDN, data storage, cognitive search, and Azure DNS with some recommendations. And that's it. So, hey, looking forward to talking to you guys at 3 o'clock today. Let's make this customer delighted. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.